Hi there, I'm Leah, and welcome to the House of Hormones podcast.
Grace Andrews, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited.
It was such a pleasure. I'm so delighted to be here.
So, for anyone who has been living under a rock and does not know you, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do?
So I'm Grace Andrews. I say I'm a brand director and a creator, so I get to see both sides, which is quite a unique position to be in. I am brand director for Flight Story and The Diary of a CEO, which is Steven Bartlett's media company. I've been there from nearly the very start of The Diary of a CEO. So I was hire number 2. I worked my way in from social media manager into head of content, into brand director, and now oversee a team of 12. The company is now 80 plus people. There were 3 of us working in Steven Bartlett's kitchen when I started. So it's been quite the journey. And then alongside that, at the same time, I've been cultivating and building my own brand on social media. So primarily on LinkedIn and Instagram. I have an audience of just over 250,000. And we talk about all the things that none of my friends want to hear me talk about anymore, which is brand breakdowns, trend analysis, launches, creators, podcasts, all of that world is my obsession. And I share it with the internet most days. So that's my creator side, and then my in-house brand director role. The thing I'm thinking a lot about, or the thing I care about the most, is trying to get brands to behave more like creators who are excellent at creating content and capturing attention, and for creators to think more like businesses and brands in terms of how can they turn this incredible audience they've built into a monetizable opportunity. So they're the two sides of things, and the line I'm playing, I guess the playground I'm playing within.
I'm fascinated by this. It's so interesting, though. Now you've kind of broken that down, I'm like, listening to you, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm really intrigued by you. If anybody goes on the Social Climber on your Instagram, right, it's really just so easy to engage with. It's very, yes, tips, but it's very girly. It's very, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just really, and then you're just like this badass boss woman. It's like, and I just manage a team of 12, and I was like, and oh, by the way, we've just hit all these milestones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm learning. I'm like, I would never sit here and say like, I've got it all figured out, and I'm sure we'll go into it a bit more. I'm very much learning day to day, and both worlds are sort of growing in a way that I could have never imagined. So they're both scaling very rapidly in their own right. And it's something I'm navigating day in, day out, and figuring it out and figuring out where I sit in my role. But it's funny you say that, like the girly and the boss bitch, because I actually think that is me. Like, I have these two sides to me where I can turn up. When anyone ever meets me in a work environment, they're like, we were scared of you at the start. Like, we were scared of you. And I'm like, good, that's how it should be. And then we break down the walls, and then, we build the trust. Like, there should be a little bit of fear there. And then my other side is just like this girl who gets into her pajamas at 7 p.m. the minute she walks through the door.
Hello,
she wants to be looked after, and she's like this vulnerable, like 20, I'm always like 27, 28-year-old girl. I've just turned 28.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So I do think that's interesting that you like pick up on that. I know you're a psychologist, so that's probably where it's coming from. Psychoanalyzing me the whole time.
Yeah, like just straight away.
Yeah, I think I show up in 2 ways.
But that's obviously why your content is so engaging for so many women, because they're like, you don't have to be this constant, bad boss bitch, like doing this, or, you can also have a softer side. You can have, different levels to. And I love that about you. I find it just so interesting, so relatable, because actually, if you think about it, as women, we go through that monthly. So we go through 4 different personalities monthly.
Yeah.
So being so open about your different personalities, and as well, you are always so candid and open and honest about your learning journey. And you don't gatekeep, and you share all your secrets. And there's something so lovely about that. And so, people really just resonate with that, don't they?
Well, I think when we're in a world where, I guess, cancel culture and trolling and everything is so prolific, my theory is if I show up as my true self through my channels, and I say true with caveats, there are certain areas of my life that don't get showed on social media. Like, everyone's always like, they think they know me, and I'm like, you see 20% of my life. Like, you're not seeing everything behind the scenes, but you're seeing the part of me that I'm deciding to show up as and show myself online. But if I show myself truly to be asking the questions, to be being messy, to be making mistakes, then really there's not much people can call me up on. And I think that's what's really helped me. Everyone always wants to talk about imposter syndrome, and you know, you must feel imposter syndrome. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? I'm always so confused with this assumption that I must feel that way. I must feel like an imposter. How do I deal with it? And I always say, well, I don't feel like an imposter because I one, feel like I've earned my place and I've earned my right to be here and I earned my seat at the table. I've worked really hard to get here.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I don't claim to know it all. You know, I don't claim to sit here, and I'm sure there'll be questions we discuss today and I'll go, I actually don't know huge amounts about that, but I would love to go and find out and learn more and keep learning, because that's what itches my curiosity, you know, like to find new opportunities to learn. So I think there's a real power in showing up with some element of vulnerability and some element of going, I don't know all the answers. Like, of course I don't. I'm 28. Who would I be to go, but yeah, I know all of that. I'm done. How boring would life be?
Absolutely. I have to pick up on this. Did you watch Emma Grede and Meghan Markle? Have you seen some of those clips? Because you mentioned imposter syndrome, and Emma Grede always talks about imposter syndrome a lot. You know, you've touched on that. What did you think of their conversation?
It's on my watch list for this weekend, so I haven't watched it yet. Yeah. But Emma Grede is one of the most, like, I look up to her as one of the most inspirational women. So I cannot wait to watch that. I have seen some of the clips, but as someone who works in clips and social media, it's always the best bit sort of out of context. So I want to hear the full nuanced conversation.
I love how she speaks. I love Emma Grede. I'm obsessed with her. Emma Grede, please come on the House of Hormones podcast. We have been trying to contact her. But yeah, no, I just love the way you speak about that. And you know, one of the things that I just always think about is, like, let's talk about Times Square. We can't go much further in this conversation without talking about Times Square. But you're achieving so much. And not to sound patronising, but I'm a lot older than you and you're so young. And I just think, I almost feel we don't know each other that much, but I'm so proud of you. But like, how are you looking after yourself with all of this? Because it is fast, isn't it? And there's a lot happening. Yeah. And, you know, first talk about Times Square and then answer that. Because congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, Times Square is one of those really surreal moments where I don't think I'll process it for a really long time, because how do you get your head around an email that says, oh, by the way, your face is going to be in a billboard because you've won an award and it's going to be in Times Square tomorrow, and you're going at 100 miles an hour in London over here. And then I saw it and I haven't, the connections in my brain haven't connected up that's me in Times Square. I also think because I didn't get to see it in real life. Yeah. I think that would have been like a real impact moment. It's one of those moments where you get a lot of feedback and a lot of praise and a lot of congratulations, and you sort of sit in it for a second and you're like, okay, wow, like this is a moment. And
can we take a moment now and just be like, can you have like a little, can we all clap for
the producer, can we clap?
Can we clap? But seriously though, because that's insane, isn't it? And I know it's a lot to process.
Can I say,
so good.
Though, I feel so grateful for these opportunities, but it's always funny, isn't it? Because they are amazing and they are milestones and they do really mark a moment. But it's not it's never those things that get me really excited. It's like the process of getting there and doing the work and climbing the mountain with amazing people around you. Oh my God, there's no feeling like it.
It's the journey, not the destination.
But it is.
Me and Emily Lavinia, who I mentioned, you were talking about that last night, and Dr. Ravina Banat, she's amazing. It's the journey, not the destination.
But it's like, it's so fulfilling to do things with people that feel good to you. And it's amazing to get recognized for it. And then the other thing I will say is, every single one of those opportunities, none of them would have been possible without building my personal brand. So the effort and intention and like strategic positioning of my personal brand means that when those things come, they are amazing, but they really just are a result of like this strategy I've got in place. Yeah. And I do really think building a personal brand is like a magnet to these opportunities. Like, there's no way that awards team would have ever come across me or my work had I not built this profile and built this content and built this content engine that spreads my awareness far beyond a room like this, or far beyond my office. Yeah, it spreads it globally. Like that opportunity would have never been available to me otherwise. Like, if you look at all the other people who won in my category, they're either 20 years my senior with 20 years more experience, 20 years more CV experience, lived experience, or they work for really sort of massive corporate brands very high up. There would just be no place for me as a 28-year-old sort of media director within the marketing world had I not built that profile. And I do just have, I see all these things and people congratulating me and going, oh, I wish that was me. I want that opportunity. And I'm like, it's sitting there on a plate for you if you're willing to put in the work to build your profile.
Yeah.
Like, I do truly think it is like possible for anyone who's willing to put in the work. That's what I see.
Where do you think you sit on the scale of being a risk taker?
I'm like the biggest risk taker, I think.
Where do you think that comes from? Like your background growing up, having 3 brothers?
Having 3 brothers, being forced to take risks. I've always had an incredibly supportive, I think back to your question of how do I think we touched on it before, like how do you do it all? And you're so busy. We touched on Times Square, but how does it all happen? And I think I have been so lucky and I don't take it for granted. Like the privilege of being brought up and having such an incredible family and network around me. I think I've always felt so secure and safe, knowing that any risk I took, there'd be a backup plan. I'd be able to fall back on something. If I don't know, when it metaphorically jumped off a cliff, like my family would be waiting at the bottom for me.
Yeah. Aww.
And I don't think I can emphasize how much of a safety net they provided for me that has given me this risk mentality. I will also say, like, I've met a lot of people who also have that incredible security blanket around them, and I just don't have that same mentality.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
So I think do you know what it is? I think it's compounding experience as well. So I've taken little risks over time that have paid off in my favor. And what happens is you start to build up this bucket of experience or this bucket of results that you go, okay, you took that risk. The world didn't close. Like the world didn't shut down. It wasn't scary. It was a little bit scary, but it was fine. You survived. You're still here. And then it's like, okay, so I can take a slightly bigger risk next time, and a slightly bigger risk, and a slightly bigger risk. And then working with Steven Bartlett or working with people I'm currently working with, it's the big swing every time. It's like bigger, 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 and having absolutely no fear of failure.
Yeah.
Like, you fail, so what? We go again.
You guys really lean into that though, and I love that.
Because
like I've learned a lot from that
worst,
myself.
You know, what's the worst that can happen? We're not, I mean, actually through the Diary of a CEO, I was like, we're not saving lives. People have been incredibly impacted by the stories on that show. But I just, like, that's where the fun and excitement happens. That you fail, you make a mistake, you learn, you grow. The opportunity sits on the other side of failure. So we're just constantly playing around with failure. We have a head of failure.
Yeah.
You know, we're encouraged to fail. And I think that's really important as well. Not only have I got this incredible network of people around me, but I'm in an environment where we are actively encouraged to fail.
Yeah.
So we're taking risks at every opportunity, every single day.
So let's think about, because I also want to talk about women, right? And so, because I just am so excited about, you know, you just being such an amazing, empowering woman, and you're just such a girl's girl as well. Like, I know, like, we had a conversation prior to this all about, you know, not worrying about competitors or, you know, things like that. Embrace it all, especially in the world of women's health. But as a woman coming up, and I feel like your environment's a bit different, but what advice would you give to women who maybe feel like those opportunities aren't there for them, or they just don't feel like they have the confidence for those things?
There's 2 things that come to mind. One is nobody is watching as closely as you are. So that suddenly, when you really are able to understand that and adopt that mindset, the fear of what people think, or the fear of what people say, or the fear of, oh my God, that industry is so saturated, how am I ever going to break through? Or no one cares about what I say. All this sort of fear that you build up in your head actually doesn't matter that much, because nobody is watching your life as closely as you are. So you're the one who sees every single movement of everything you do, and every comment or everything, or every remark, or how you come across in every situation. Most people aren't watching that closely. Yeah. So for me, that just like lets my shoulders drop and go, actually, I've got so much freedom to be messy here, because people care and there's impact there after you put in all the reps, like people start to care. But people don't care as much as you think.
Yeah.
And like, it's the harsh truth. People have got a lot of things to care about. We're innately selfish beings.
Yeah.
Take it day, like truly just take it each day. If you can do one thing each day that edges you closer to wherever you want to be or whoever you want to be, you will compound that impact over time. Like, we see compound interest, we see compound like results or motivation or all of these things. We always talk about this graph at the Diary of a CEO, which is sort of a very flat line and then this hockey stick. Because for that first year, we put in the reps, we put in the ideas, we put in the media, we put in the time and the effort and the gas, the energy, and we didn't see much uptake for a full year, which I think people are always surprised to hear because they think it just blew up overnight, which it's never the case ever, is it? I think that's the same for pretty much everything in life. Like compounding consistency over a long period of time is what's going to allow you to be that overnight success.
Yeah.
Because it's all the work that goes on. If you imagine an iceberg, I'm a very visual person, as you can tell. I'm like drawing all these things on the screen. If you imagine an iceberg, people only see like the little tippy top of it that pokes through the water. They don't see this like massive mound that's sitting under the water, which is all the days and days and days and probably years of work that have gone in that have allowed you to poke out of the surface of the water. So that for me is the thing you've tried every single day. So if your goal is to speak on a stage or start a business or have a viral video on TikTok, I don't know, they're the things within my world, have a podcast, whatever it is, what's the one thing you can do today? One thing that you can take control of that edges you closer to your goals. I think we get so caught up in comparison and what everyone else is doing and seeing everyone else's tip of the iceberg and trying to replicate or get there immediately without thinking there have been years, probably years, and highs and lows and mistakes and real serious failures and all the ideas that didn't make it before you've got to that tippy top. So for me, it's like, what can I control today? Okay, I don't know if I'm wanting to speak on a stage, can I set up a LinkedIn profile? Because there's an incredible network of people who book speaking opportunities through LinkedIn. Okay, that's it for today. Tomorrow, can I post once on LinkedIn?
Has your body ever done something weird or out of the norm? You've already went to the doctor, you've had your blood test, but you're still thinking, is this normal? Am I the only one that's dealing with this? Sometimes you just need to hear it from someone who actually gets it. And that's literally why we've created the House of Hormones Forum. Think your girls group chat, but with an upgrade. The House of Hormones Forum is a safe space with zero judgment and a strong community of women who really get what you're going through because they're going through it too. We're talking PMS, mood swings, cycle changes, cravings, all of it. And the best part is you've got real support with the House of Hormones Forum. So whether you just want to vent or you've come to ask questions, come and join us. It's given science meets sisterhood, so come and join the conversation at the House of Hormones Forum. We've saved you a seat. www.thehouseofhormones.com and just click forum.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, isn't it? It's like small steps, but it's the compounding idea. And the problem is a lot of people, you know, that maybe do complain about things, but it's not as easy as that. It's like, well, maybe you're just not putting in the effort to compound, right?
Like, try and speak to anyone who's been successful. Like we're talking about Emma Greed. She's been going in business for 20 years.
Yeah.
We're only talking about her in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, no, I loved her before that. I've loved her for years. But
she's just started a podcast. She's just appeared on Dragon's Den. She's been guesting on Shark Tank. It's like her profile, although she's been this mastermind behind some of the biggest brands in the world.
I mean, goodness me.
And built an agency for 10 years before that.
Yeah.
It's only now when her name is becoming really popular in the mainstream
that we're all talking.
That everyone's talking. Like, I can't go a day without her name coming up in some sort of conversation.
Really?
Yeah, which is when I start to notice it. I'm like, okay, she's having her, the iceberg is coming out.
I mean, I'm just going to put my disclaimer in. I loved Emma Greed. Like, wait.
You're an OG.
No, I am an OG because I watched the Kardashians and she used to be on there with, Chloe and the
Good American.
I was there from day one.
Skims.
I'm a day one. I wasn't there for the agency bit. I want to start digging into women's health and social media, right? We spoke to Jeremy Vine a lot about this, about what he's seen over generations and how the change in talking about menopause and perimenopause and all these things. In terms of women's health in general, what is your perception? Is there a lot out there? Because I live in a bubble where all I talk about is women's health. And so I kind of feel like we talk about it quite a lot now. But you live in a kind of more open world where you see a lot of content about a lot of things. What's your perception on it?
I think, like with most industries right now, there's a lot of noise. And I think it can be really hard to decipher between the facts, the myths, the professionals, the ones just trying to sell you a quick supplement or a quick product that's going to fix everything.
Yeah.
Flat tummy tea and all of that nonsense. And I think what has been really great is the more professional voices have got louder, and they are starting to sort of play the same game in terms of content, podcasting, books. And you're actually starting to hear like professional voices come through. I mean, I have the pleasure of working with like Davina McCall on a regular basis.
Legend.
Please
come on our podcast, Davina.
We're having very sort of educational conversations all the time because she's so, you know, willing to openly share with a lot of us who are the sort of younger generation at work. Or I am a big fan. I follow like the Food Medic or like Hazel Wallace. Like there are lots of people who are genuinely trained in different areas regarding women's health who are not gatekeeping the education and sharing it for us all. So I think there's a lot of noise, and I think for a long time it was just an overwhelming amount of noise, and now we're starting to see the professionals sort of play the same game as these I don't know, chancers on social media. And they're starting to be louder, which I love. Like you're starting to see these like professionals understand how to create content that really resonates, that connects with an audience. And that's really, really powerful. I think there's a lot of narrative around it, but I also don't know if it's something that I'm just also more aware of as a woman in my late 20s. Like I don't know if that's...
I mean, what you've just said,
Yeah.
can I just be clear on this, is exactly why you are where you are, because I never even thought of it like that. And you're absolutely nail on the head. Like the doctors are now playing the game of clickbait. And yeah, okay, if the clip sounds shocking, but, you know, like you said about listening to the Emma Grede and Megan conversation, go in and listen to the conversation because it probably is
There's
out
probably
there.
a bit more depth.
But we all know that now.
Yeah.
But it's great to see the doctors doing that because it means they're going to get more listeners. And then it means that women and everybody have more access to the proper information.
Exactly.
2 episodes I'll speak of on A Diary of a CEO that absolutely inspired me. Dr. Mary Claire Haver stopped me in my tracks. Doctor, you know how much I'm obsessed with psychology and mental health. Dr. Lisa Moscone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was possibly my favourite episode ever, but changed my life. And also, Dr. Lisa Moscone has just been given a serious amount of money to be doing research into women's health, and into the link between mental health and our ovaries and the changes within women, which is insanely needed.
Yeah.
But arguably, again, what you've just said, you know, the right people are now being allowed to have the right voices instead of the chancers. And actually, A Diary of a CEO has allowed a lot of that.
I think long form conversation has really helped as well. I mean, not to say like my industry has helped, but like I do think the ability to sit down with professionals in an environment like this that's self-produced, not produced by the big TV production companies that have a really strong narrative they want to push. Podcasts that have been self-produced, self-made by people who are passionate within different industries has allowed for long-form conversations to exist publicly that people wouldn't have been exposed to previously. You know, you would have had to rely on a documentary being produced with a presenter and a commissioner that has a very clear commercial reason for producing that thing, versus what we're seeing now, which is people like yourself creating spaces for conversations that usually happen or previously happened behind closed doors. And I think that's incredibly powerful. If you can sit down and hear 2 women talking about women's health and all the topics you talk about in depth, it's like the education we never received at school, you know? And it's warm and inviting, and it meets you where you are in your life journey, like your stage of your journey. That's what I love so much about podcasting. It allows for context, it allows for nuance. And there really isn't a topic I can't search on YouTube or Spotify and find a really great, backed by science and data, educational conversation that truly will probably change the course of my life.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the format is always really important as well. If we think about how we're delivering educational content, I mean, the podcast industry is booming in a way I don't think any of us could have predicted. The numbers and the rate of growth of the industry is 3 times faster than what they predicted last year. It's absolutely booming. And I think partly, not to change the subject, but partly because it's now taking on TV budget. Mm-hmm. And why is it taking on TV budget? Because people trust these conversations. Mm-hmm. They trust the people behind them, and they connect with them in a way that they never were able to through TV. So I do think there's a lot of emphasis we need to place on the format of how these conversations are happening.
Yeah.
Social media is amazing. It's amazing for eyeballs, it's amazing for reach, it's amazing for connecting with new audiences. But the real winner is driving people into like the long form conversation for me.
It's so interesting because where you said, you know, say we're talking about a doctor or something and you're talking about TV. Well, realistically, they would have had a 10-minute interview where you wouldn't have been able to slot in, like, how many questions can you fit into 10 minutes? And it would have to be like, yes, no answers, pretty much say what your little pitch is. And then there you go.
And then probably cut up to 2 minutes.
That's what TV interviews basically were and maybe still are on like daytime TV, or, you know, you're having a guest
They've
on.
got different agendas, right? Like they've got commercial objectives.
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on that word?
Second-guessing yourself.
Yeah, I was like, because I'm like objecting my objectives.
Where are you in your cycle? Because that might answer that.
So I actually, because I've got like hormonal contraceptive, like see, my mind is actually blanking.
This,
do you know what
so,
it is? The heat.
This is
heat.
But listen, so now there's actually a thing, right? At the House of Hormones, we talk about perimenopause a lot, and what we're seeing on social media, what we're seeing on social media is, even on the red carpet now, we're seeing that perimenopause is really creeping in to social media, but in a really normalized way, and I'm here for it. So people will be like on the red carpet and they'll go, oh, I've lost my train of thought. I'm having a perimenopause moment, or I'm having a hot flash, and I love it.
Yeah,
because I'm all about the House of Hormones is all about normalizing the conversation and just making it like not that big of a deal. Not that women's health isn't a big deal, of course it is, but I'm just saying, like, yes, I'm a psycho. It should be
relevant to the like it's context. Yeah. It's our human context.
I am a psycho the week before my period.
Yeah,
and what? Like, that's fine.
Yeah, and let everyone know about
like,
it.
It's no problem.
Yeah,
like, or if like the boys that I work with, if I walk in and I just have a face like it looks like you shouldn't be talking to me, don't judge me. Just don't talk to me, but don't judge me.
I don't know what my excuse is though, because that's me every week of the year. That's not just for 1 week of a certain cycle. Yeah, but I actually haven't, because I'm not ovulating, so I don't think I guess there is still a cycle happening, but it's not.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, right?
Oh,
But I ask,
I'll say anything.
I work with so many different brands. I work with so many different people in women's health.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And I speak to different women every day, women who have been working in women's health for years. And if I ask them to name the 4 stages of their cycle, no one can do it. No one. Now, one phase is becoming a bit more Instagrammy.
Luteal.
There you go. So that's the one that that's when you're a psycho the week before your period.
Yeah, that's why everyone's talking about it.
That's the one that's kind of is becoming a bit more fun, and I love that because we love to play into the fun of it, and like because in a girls' group chat, we do find it funny, don't we? Like we would text each other and be like, "Oh my god, I was such a psycho today," and then my period.
And then my period starts
like,
That's the narrative that you hear all the time at the moment. It's like, I was a hot mess today, but I am due my period tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
And we've kind of normalised that. So that's exactly what the House of Hormones is all about. We're all about like normalising all of it then, right?
Yeah.
So can you name the other bits of your cycle?
God, what's even the technical term for when you're on your period? That's 1 week.
And
okay, go on.
Okay, so this is why the House of Hormones is so important, because look at how much education and information we have about our own bodies. Isn't this sad that we and I speak about this all the time. Like, I have an 8-year-old daughter and I got my period when I was 9, nearly 10. And so I'm like, but the education out there isn't good enough, and we don't want it in a kind of really serious, like, imagine going to the NHS website and then having to learn
in a
about
leaflet,
like that's not. So the House of Hormones is all about creating education for women in a really easy, consumable way. So let me tell you. So obviously you've got your menstruation when you've got your period.
Yeah.
And then follicular after that is when you feel like, yay.
Yeah.
I got all my energy.
Yeah.
And then you've got ovulation.
Oh, yeah.
And then you might get like some cramps during ovulation, which a lot of people don't even know that. So like 10 days before your period, sometimes if you're really in tune with your body, you can actually feel it. And then you've got luteal. That's my favourite one. That's my husband's favourite one.
Yeah. Do you know what's been really interesting recently? And I know we might touch on like men. We might touch on men.
We absolutely will
might touch on that big
men.
topic. I've seen, and I know I'm also in the game of social media, so I know it drives likes and engagement. But I've seen some really lovely videos from couple creators. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah. There's an Australian couple.
They're the ones who I saw.
Them.
They're the ones who did it first, I think. And he's creating videos, learning through the different stages of his girlfriend's cycle.
Yeah.
And going, okay, this is how she shows up in this week. This is what I can expect. This is how we get on. She's doing this because it makes sense for this. And like, this is how the role I play in it.
Yeah.
And when you were just talking before about this landscape of social media and women's health, I was like, I actually do think there is a shift happening, because that's really cool that he's like early 20s and he's taking a genuine interest, but also people trust him. He is a role model to so many people in so many different ways without people even realizing. And to be able to get that in front of a more male skewed audience is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about that as you said that. And I was like, I've literally watched that video about 4 times, all of the different videos, because all the girls are going, oh my God, this is me. This is how I show up. They're sending it to their boyfriends. And all the boys in the comments are like, actually, thank you so much for this. Like, I really needed to hear this. My girlfriend doesn't hate me. It's just a phase.
There's another one that I love. And honestly, I've watched it so much. I think we've remixed it and it might be on our grid. But it's like this girl going, I want a divorce. That's it. And blah, blah, blah. And the husband goes, okay. And he's like, okay. I'm going to get you the chicken that you like. I'm going to get you the da-da-da. And she's like, no, I want a divorce. And I'm going to get you the thing and we'll pop you in bed and I'll give you a little massage. And she's like, okay.
So you've got a doctor's appointment coming up and you're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on with your body. You need our free symptom tracker. It's like the receipts folder for your hormones. You can track the bloat, the mood swings, the brain fog, the mystery acne, and then roll it all into your next appointment like a hormonal pro. No more being brushed off or told it's all in your head. You've got the data. Download it for free today from our website and start advocating for yourself. www.thehouseofhormones.com and head to our free download section.
Do you think, from your perspective, like, obviously it's social media, so everything's all the context and nuances
social
stripped
media,
out.
but that also goes on in my house. But
but that's what I mean. Is it helpful, or is it actually?
Yeah, listen, to me, anything is kind of helpful to raise the conversation at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the main issue is that there's so little education.
Yeah.
So I'm just not even against. Of course, I'm against misinformation, but I'm not against any playful types of.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was one of my biggest questions that I came in here with you today, because I'm obsessed with this topic. As you know, I've got 3 brothers. So do you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And that just makes us bond. And I have a husband and I have a son. So I massively care about bringing men into this conversation, right? But I care for their sakes, because I almost want to say to them, look, I don't want to sit here and rant at you every month or blah, blah, blah. And I want to help you.
Your life becomes easier when you understand this.
You don't know how much easier.
If
you get this. And also, men really feel, and I really want your insight on this, men really feel that they have no place in that conversation. And what's interesting is, as I said, I was listening to the feminist debate, and I've never heard Steven Bartlett not speak so much, because genuinely men feel like they can't have a voice on it. But you watch when men do, women welcome them in. They're like, thanks for joining us. Come in, unless their opinion is obviously like something, crazy.
Yeah.
But
most of the time.
In terms of, I'll give you an example. My husband's obsessed with like ultra processed food, and we use the Yucca app. I don't know if you use it. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And he's obsessed with not using ultra processed food. And we went through this whole thing in our house of like taking everything out, blah, blah, blah. When I started my journey, like educating myself more on perimenopause and hormonal fluctuations and all of these things that are pivotal to women, right? And I started educating him. And when he understood it more, I showed him a chart. I actually have the chart here, and we have it in our free downloads on the House of Hormones. And it's like food for each phase, right? Now, every woman's different. So here's the caveat. I'm not saying this is exactly what you should eat in this phase. However, when I give it to him, he went, oh, well, I need to make you X, Y, and Z for dinner tonight. Or, they can almost take it into their own way of processing. So it's not like loads of information throwing it at them. This is how I find what worked for my husband. But what do you think would work to educate men?
Do you know what I think is really funny about that is it's data, charts, and research. I'm not surprised that you showed him a chart and he was like, cool, makes sense. Men connect with data, research, and charts. if you can communicate what we love to hear in stories and emotion and lived experience and all of these things into facts, data, research, charts, you're in so many different ways. We see it across so many different industries. And then I think the other thing I'll say is, we're saying like we want men in this conversation, right? But you show me a women's health focused Instagram account or an event that doesn't feel exclusive to women, because I don't think I couldn't name one. I haven't seen one, because really women's health is it's human health, right? Like we should be appealing to everyone, because we make up 50% of the population and everyone's life become easier when we understand each other. It's human health. But when you look at sort of the social portrayal of women's health, it's for women. It is the way we're speaking, the colors, the style, the people. It's all women trying to speak to women. And when we say we're trying to bring men into the conversation, I actually don't know if we are, because we're sitting very comfortably in the places where women sit. So we host breakfast and brunch events. We host Pilates. We do probably with very like floral displays, and we invite women. And then we're like, why are men not showing up for these conversations? It's like, actually, are we inviting them into the conversation, or are we in sort of soft and maybe non-intentional ways keeping it quite exclusive? So my take on these things is, if we're going to host an event, host an event where you have to bring a male with you. You have to bring your partner. You have to bring your son.
Or like the House of Hormones takes over Wembley for the
for
FA
the
Cup.
football. Yeah. And all the sponsoring is done by women. But like, it's the same for everything within brand, whether it's women's health or anything. It's like, go to where they are, meet them where they are, rather than trying to bring them into you. Like if you're trying to speak to a certain audience, you can't sit and wait for them to turn up on your doorstep. You have to go and infiltrate their community. So is it that we find an incredible male community there are some really cool like dad groups out there who are doing really great stuff in the mental health space, because that conversation's been really loud for the last few years, men's mental health. Can we find those communities and do a collaborative event? Can we do social media collaborations? Can we do joint ventures that create products where it's joint and they're part of the journey and part of the story, as opposed to being brought in last minute and told that they need to understand X, Y, and Z? I think that's what it's all about. It's about bringing them in earlier, really truly inviting them in. And you've got to look at your comms and how you're communicating. Is it inherently like for females? Like, let's be honest. Like, is it pink? Is it fluffy? Is it girly? Does it speak to the girly Gen Z? Or are we actually trying to speak to the men? And then the other piece is get the men to tell the story. So, for example, the Australian boyfriend of this couple. Him telling that story, as opposed to a female telling a male that they need to listen to this, will break through that barrier so much quicker than if we were trying to do it the other way around. So finding male advocates who have an existing audience, who've built that trust, who can get on board with this conversation. Maybe they show up as a representative on a panel. Maybe they come on a podcast like this,
like
to
when
give
Jeremy
another perspective.
Vine came on.
Exactly, to give another perspective. I think it's like bringing them into the long form conversations, allowing them to be the advocates for it, rather than trying to tell them that they need to advocate for it.
And from what I've seen, women love that. Like, that's what I've seen. Women really, like, men need to know to do that more, because women really rate it. Like, it's something that we love.
I think if we want them to be part of the conversation, it's like, communicate. We do need to understand how to communicate. This is also I know this is gonna ruffle some feathers, because people are like, we shouldn't have to do all the work. Like, the men should have to come and do. And I'm like, but we need to break the barriers down to make it really easily accessible for them.
Of course.
And make them want to feel like part of a conversation, which has felt probably quite isolating and exclusive, because it's also taken a long time for women to have these conversations,
Yeah, and also I do think, it's not a men versus women situation. No. Like you touched on men's mental health, and as you know, mental health is a huge thing for me. Children's mental health, women's, men's, everyone's mental health, right?
It's a human problem.
Yeah,
it's a human
and
issue.
it's one of the things that resonates with me so deeply, and because it's what I studied and it's what I'm really passionate about, and so I think maybe we need to shift the narrative to just start talking about, look, here's what we're suffering from, but you're suffering from this. Like, how can we come together and support each other, in that way? you talk a lot about burnout and fatigue, right? But I want to ask you something about social media, because obviously that's your world, right? You do a lot of social media. What do you think about people becoming addicted to social media, and what are your boundaries, and like how do you ever suffer from a sore hand from like being on your phone like me
every single day?
I really wanted to ask you that.
I'm not gonna have I'm gonna need wrist replacements by the time I'm 60. Like,
maybe
forget
that's
knee replacements. Yeah,
that's a new business
fingers
for us, like,
as well. Oh, everything. That's when I know it's been too much and I have to put everything down. Like, my joints get sore, which isn't great. But I guess there are pros and cons to everything.
but everybody is a bit addicted to smartphones, devices, all this type of thing. But when it's your work, that's really difficult because it's your work.
But they're designed to be addictive. They are designed, the algorithm in place for all of your favorite social media apps are designed to keep you on for as long as humanly possible. So everything you're seeing is designed to make you want to come back and make you want to stay. I have two things to say on this, I guess. It's one, we have to take accountability because the platforms are not going to do it. The platforms want you to stay on for as long as possible. They'll put up you've been on here, you might want to snooze now, or those little app features. But the reality is they're designed to be apps so addictive.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about dopamine, like it's like a fixation, you know? It's like you are just getting that hit after hit after hit after hit. So we do have to take accountability and we do have to control our consumption as much as we can. Like, I do think we have to take more responsibility and accountability there. So that's one side of things. And then in terms of boundaries and the other side of things, like it's a great question, and it's definitely something I will hold my hands up and say I'm very much still on the learning journey of, because when your work and play all exist in the same place, it's really challenging. So what I do, I have a few things. For burnout, I have having experienced it and never wanting to get there again, I have a list of notes on my phone which are like my non-negotiables. So it's something I learned from a creator years and years ago, and it's little things that I do and I will come back to if I feel like I'm out of whack or out of balance in terms of my consumption, and how if I find myself like doom scrolling for hours on TikTok, I have to check myself. I come back to my non-negotiables, and they're little things like, have you been for like a 20-minute, half an hour walk today? Have you had a really good conversation with someone? When was the last time you went for outside or did something without your phone? Have you read like 10 pages of a book today? It's like little things that I know make me feel really good.
Yeah.
And are really quick fixes when I feel like I'm drowning in the feeds of social media. Because for me, I will start by looking for one thing on as we all do on the app, and then 10 minutes later I'm all the way over here because I've actually found a new idea and a concept. Literally. And I've saved it and I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And it's once we understand that that's how the apps are designed, I think we do like everything else. Like, we're able to control as like adults like many other areas of our lives. And I think because social media is so new in the grand scheme of things, and the algorithm is changing so often, we haven't developed necessarily tactics to be able to control like our consumption habits there. Yeah. So I do think we have to take accountability. We do have to take control. Like, don't get me wrong, every so often you're going to find me 2 hours deep into a TikTok scroll. Like, you are. But if I can...
But if it's a Sunday afternoon and you're cuddled up on the sofa and that's what you've sat down to do, then that's
different.
Okay.
It's when it's like, it's ruining my productivity or it's distracting me from what I'm trying to achieve. It's wasted energy. So I do have this like checklist that I come back to. I mean, there's loads of silly things on there as well that make me feel good in general. Like when I feel making sure I've got my nails done.
Yes.
And
but that's not a silly one.
It makes me feel amazing.
That's a really big thing for so many women.
Yeah. Just making like, it makes me feel put together. If I don't have my nails done.
And do you know what? If it's not your nails. So for any woman that's out there at the moment, like, and even if it's not about social media, even if you're just feeling stuck with something else, or burnout from something else, or you're a mum and you're just really just not overwhelmed with, make the list.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to, even if you think it's a silly thing, put it on the list. Like, if it's your favourite drink.
My sillier one is fresh bed sheets, fresh pillows.
That's not silly. That's like arguably the most important one.
Like, there's nothing that makes me feel better. Because it's when you're in that swirl or that spiral and you just can't see the wood from the trees.
Yeah.
The littlest things, like, they are, like, in the grand scheme of things, like changing a bed sheets or like your nails, they're amazing in those moments. And it really does like bring you back into you.
Yeah. Do you know what I do?
yeah.
Just to tap into that
Yeah.
one. When my husband goes, sometimes like he'll have to go to America or whatever for work. As soon as he goes, I change the bed sheets.
Yeah.
The whole bed.
So it's the best
bliss.
feeling.
Or change the bed sheets on like a Saturday morning and then get back into bed and watch TV.
Stunning.
Like, can you think of it? You kind of strike me as like an all or nothing person. Not for
Oh, I
everything.
am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh, I absolutely am. Yeah.
But like I was thinking, like even with your phone, to me, I know I have to. Like if I put it in a drawer, or even if I'm on holiday, right, it's not working, great, put it away or leave it in the hotel and go out if you can take pictures on something else.
Have you been feeling like your hormones are running the show? Been there? Same. Our ebook is your no BS glow up guide to hormonal health. We're talking facts, expert advice, and real life hacks, all in one gorgeously written download. So whether you're dealing with PMS, perimenopause, or you're just tired of Googling what the hell is wrong with me, grab your copy now at www.thehouseofhormones.com, and we've tagged it below. We've got your back.
Yeah, do you know what someone said to me the other day? And I was like, oh my God, absolutely. Like, do you remember? So we used to be able to get on planes and there was no Wi-Fi. And it was to be disconnected for sometimes 8+ hours on a long haul travel. I mean, it used to drive me insane and like give me severe social anxiety, like give me anxiety.
For the first bit, and then you probably calm down.
And then you chill out and it's out of your control. In the last few years, I travel so much with work and every minute counts. So as soon as we're on the plane, we're connecting to the Wi-Fi and we're working. And someone said, who I really look up to in the industry the other day, said, I've never connected to Wi-Fi on a flight because that time is so precious. That time when you cannot be contacted and you can't connect to the rest of the world. And I was like, why am I so obsessed with being, I mean, this is a deep-rooted conversation that we don't have time for. Why am I so obsessed with being so productive? I am going to try for the rest of the year and not connect to Wi-Fi on the plane. I know that sounds like a very Gen Z 21st century problem, but like
it doesn't. It's actually quite symbolic. It's actually a bit of a metaphor.
I'm going to take that time back to be disconnected.
Exactly.
And I was
you're basically setting boundaries, and you're basically setting boundaries for yourself.
But you learn that over time, right? Like that is my instant reaction as soon as Wi-Fi came in on planes was like, I have to be connected the minute. I'm the one asking. I'm like, hey, excuse me, the Wi-Fi hasn't turned on yet. Like the minute we've taken off.
I think as well, sometimes though, it can be people are at different stages in their life. So sometimes people can have the privilege of doing that. Whereas, you know, obviously you're young, you're trying to take every single opportunity.
Trying to take on the world.
And so you should. No, but you know, and why not? Because one day you'll be 40 like me and you'll be too tired. No.
I'm tired now.
Obviously we need to wrap this up at some point. Now I don't want to because I just want to keep chatting. But I don't think I can leave today without asking, because you are younger than me and a lot of people at the House of Hormones, like a lot of our audience are talking about perimenopause and it is becoming a bit of a buzzword. So menopause kind of had its moment on social media and now it's kind of all about perimenopause. So for anyone that doesn't know, menopause actually just means the day that you haven't had a period for a year, right? That's all menopause. You can't be in menopause unless it's that day. But it basically just means you haven't had a period for a year. That's menopause, right? Prior to that, so all the symptoms that everybody talks about is perimenopause. Now, perimenopause is so misunderstood and can very normally start, perimenopausal symptoms can very normally start at the age of 35. That sounds really scary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But how do we, at the House of Hormones, how do we educate younger women on this? Because there's so much you can do to help yourself, advocate for yourself, make it so much easier, prevent like certain symptoms, etc., etc. But how do we educate, but not in a, this is so scary, and like how do I, as a 40-year-old woman, tell you, as a 28-year-old woman, oh hey girl, by the way, in a couple of years, like, you might start noticing these changes. And if you do, don't panic. It's not a big deal. Just do X, Y, and Z. How do we do that without being like, menopause and it's awful? And it's, because it like doesn't have to be awful.
Do you know what? I don't know if it's because maybe I'm heading towards, not like rapidly, but I'm 28. So maybe I'm heading more towards 35. Or because the conversation's just got louder. But I have become... It's a word, obviously, I wasn't aware of 2 years ago, and now I feel very aware of it. And I don't know if that's just because the narrative has picked up online, if it has just become a buzzword, or if it's because I'm now in the category who are sort of looking at that as the next chapter of, okay, this is what it could look like. This is something to bear in mind.
I mean, I wasn't looking at it when I was 28.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the narrative has changed.
I actually think it's already happening. And I think with everything in life, when anyone ever talks about like mentorship or anything like that, I always say it's amazing to speak to people who are 10, 15, 20, 30 years older than you. But what you actually want, who someone is just in that next step ahead of you. They're just one step ahead. They're maybe 4 to 5 years older than you, and they're living through it, you know, they're experiencing it. And so I think what we're going to see is sort of the creator cohort who started 5-10 years ago, who are probably about to edge into that age group in that category, are probably going to do that work for us. You know, I think they're going to really take us on that journey and live through social media in real time of their experiences of perimenopause and what they're doing and how they're adapting their lifestyle, or how they're not, and what they're doing in different ways, or all these different things to enable them to keep living the lifestyle they want to live through these hormonal changes. So I think we're probably going to see some really interesting content in this next phase of maybe 5 to 10 years that do take us on that journey in real time, which I think is going to be really powerful.
And the House of Hormones definitely want to be part of that.
Yeah. And I think that's just about presenting it in a way that it's not about fear. It's about, I mean, we all want to feel connected during these times, right? We all want to feel like it's not just us and we're not alone and we're not the only one who's ever experienced these things. So allowing for community to exist around those moments, I think, is really powerful. Bringing women together when they feel the most isolated, or the most like the world is happening at them and to them rather than with them, I think is really important. So if I were you, or if I was anyone sort of in this world, it's like, how can we physically bring women together and empower them during this time? Rather than just having them experience this like by themselves, maybe online or like behind the screen.
Well, obviously, at the House of Hormones website, we have our forum that we've just newly launched. So
Amazing.
We have a space for people to talk. But, of course, we also have our event coming up at Wembley that Grace Andrews is going to be there at the football.
Headlining.
The House of Hormones. Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much. I know, you know, coming on the House of Hormones podcast isn't like in your normal remit, but you're such a women supporting women, uplifting. Like, I love that about you.
Thank you.
What's next for you? What's going to be happening next for you?
I'm going to be looking to introduce a little bit more balance into my life in terms of right now, and the last chapter of my life has been all career. It's been 90% career, and almost everything else has been sacrificed, because that's the reality. If you want to go all in on something, a lot of things have to drop. And I'm now at a stage where I want to really look at investing in the people around me a bit more, giving a bit more time to that, and getting time back, because I think I've got so much. Yeah, I think I've got so much capability and not the capacity. And I really want to get capacity back to really be able to fulfill my capability and where I think I can go. So
wow.
Just having a bit of a rejuggle. I think that's what's going on at the moment. I'm just taking a little bit of a step back, looking at everything. And I see life in, well, Steve calls them buckets. Like, I see them in like different charts, I guess, that are going up and down, and you're just juggling everything. And I've been all in on my career unapologetically for the last nearly 10 years. And I absolutely still want to go all in on my career, but maybe just introduce 10% of other things back into my life that bring me so much joy. So
I love that.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
I love that. I love that for you. I've absolutely loved this conversation. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
And so much of what you said today, you know, you were saying, and then you did say at one point, like, that was a bit of luck and that was lucky. The way you've looked at everything that I've presented in front of you, even nothing was luck. I can see exactly your decision-making process and how amazing. I mean, can you come and work at the House of Hormones, please? But thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode today, don't forget to like and subscribe to the House of Hormones podcast. Your support really does help us reach more people and spread the word about women's health. If you want to stay connected, follow us on our social media. And here's something really important. We're on a mission to secure more funding for women's health initiatives. Sign our government petition today and help us amplify our voices for better healthcare resources and support. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you for being part of our journey. We can't wait to see you in the next episode.